The question that I get asked most by security guard companies, especially the new ones, is how do I go about pricing my services? Many times they'll ask, is X dollars per hour too much? And I always respond with the same answer, which is, it depends. So here is how you figure out your billing rate for your security guard service. As you know, not properly pricing your services correctly is one of the quickest ways to find yourself out of business. Either because, one, you're pricing your services too far outside the normal pricing range that buyers are expecting, and no one will sign a contract with you. Or two, you're not charging enough and you're losing money on your contract, and we all know where that leads. If you don't want to find yourself in either one of those positions, let's talk about the proper way of pricing your contract. The method that most companies start out with is what I'll call simple markup pricing. With simple markup pricing, what companies do is take how much they're paying their security officers and mark that number up, X%. So if they're paying their security officers $15 an hour, they might mark that number up 50% and have a billing rate of $22.50. The problem with that pricing methodology is that you're doing nothing but guessing about what your price should be. And if that's the method you're using, right now in this very moment, you're probably 50%, 40%, 31.2% confident in how you price your contract or what your competitor's pricing is. If I'm right, please raise your hand. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's way too many of you to count. So let's talk about the proper way to price a contract, and that is using cost plus pricing. Cost plus pricing is a pricing method where a fixed percentage is added on top of the cost to produce one unit of a product. The resulting number is the selling price of the product. In your case, the product is 1 hour of security guard service. So what are the costs to produce 1 hour of security service? To calculate your billing rate, you have to take into account everything that goes into putting a security officer on site for an hour. Those things include officer pay rate, training wages, holiday wages, vacation pay, FICA tax, food tax, SUTA tax, life insurance, medical coverage, workers' compensation insurance, general liability insurance, CPR training, refresher training, drug screening, uniform cost, background check cost, vehicle insurance, vehicle registration, fuel cost, literally everything that goes into putting that officer on site. There are a lot of calculations that go into determining your billing rate, but ultimately you're trying to determine what each one of those costs are per hour. Once you have those costs, you add them up to get your total direct expenses. And once you have your total direct expenses, you can tack on your profit margin on top of that number to get a billing rate that makes sense. Let's take a look at a couple of simple examples to get you started. So let's say we're starting with a wage rate of $15 an hour. To that wage rate, let's add your FICA tax, which at the time of this recording is 7.65%. 7.65% of $15 is $1.15. So your billing rate is now your wage rate of $15 and FICA tax of $1.15, which is $16.15. Next, let's add in your state unemployment tax, which we'll say is 2.5%. 2.5% of $15 is 38 cents. Now your billing rate is $16.53. That process goes on and on for all of your insurance, taxes, etc. If you don't know what those numbers are, you can contact your CPA and your insurance company to get those numbers. Next, you'll want to move on to your direct expenses like uniforms, security guard management software, cell phones, etc. To calculate those costs per hour, you'll have to do a little more math. So let's say you want to use OfficerReports.com at the client site, because you aren't trying to run a security guard company without OfficerReports.com, right? Because that's just as bad as guessing what your billing rate should be. Click the link above to check out OfficerReports.com. Do it now. Click it, move on, click. OfficerReports.com charges you $50 per month. So over the course of a year, that comes out to about $600 per year. Next, you'll want to calculate the total number of hours per year for the contract. Let's say the contract is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That equates to 160 hours per week, or 8,736 hours per year. Now you simply divide 600 by 8,736 and you get 7 cents per hour. So now your billing rate is $16.60. The last example that we'll take a look at is uniforms. For your uniforms, you'll need to look at the total cost of your uniforms across all of your personnel at that site and estimate how long those uniforms will last. First, calculate your uniform cost per officer. Let's just say that amount is $100 per officer. On a 168-hour per week contract, let's say you'll have 5 officers. So in a 1-year time period, your uniform cost for that site will be $500. So now you divide the 500 by 8,736 hours to get 6 cents per hour. Add that to your billing rate, and now you're at $16.66 per hour. Let's just say $16.66 is your fully loaded cost for your billing rate. Once you have that cost, you'll then add your profit margin to that number. Generally speaking, although there are some outliers, in the security industry, profit margins range from mid-single digits up to low double digits. Once you add your profit margin, you now have a fully burdened billing rate that you can be confident in. There are a lot more elements that go into pricing your services, like turnover, depreciation, unbillable overtime. But I won't get into all of those elements because this could be a 2 to 3 hour video, and we're currently developing a pricing tool to help simplify all of this for you. If you're interested in being notified when that tool is ready, please click the link in the description box below. I hope this video was able to shed some light on how to properly price your security guard service. In summary, you should not be using simple markup pricing because 1, you could be pricing your services too far outside the normal pricing range that buyers are expecting, and no one will sign a contract with you. Or 2, you are not charging enough and you're losing money on your contracts. The correct pricing method for security guard service is cost plus pricing. Cost plus pricing is a pricing method where a fixed percentage is added on top of the cost of 1 hour of security guard service. And that's the end of video number 8. If you're thinking about starting a security guard company and you find this type of information helpful, then please subscribe and click the notification bell to make sure that you are alerted as we introduce new videos in the series. Lastly, if you have questions or comments, please leave them below because I try to respond to all comments and questions that I get. On to the next video.